Hello everyone, my name is Mini Sethi. I hope you all are staying healthy. Today we are going to talk about welfare economics for UGC NET, and topics for today's video are meaning of welfare economics, nature and scope of welfare economics, first and second fundamental theorem, and social welfare function of Bergson and Samuelson with meaning, assumption, diagram and criticism. So let's start it. So what is welfare economics? Father of welfare economics is Arthur Cecil Pigou, and welfare economics is branch of economics that focus on optimum allocation of resources. Welfare economics is branch of economics that focus on optimum allocation of resources and also see its effect on social welfare. Or we can say that welfare economics deal with economically efficient distribution of resources for well-being of people. Now we will see nature and scope of welfare economics. Welfare economics study about both welfare, economic welfare as well as non-economic welfare. Economic welfare means the welfare which we can measure in terms of money. On the other hand, non-economic welfare is the welfare which we cannot measure in terms of money. For example, environment, social relationship, etc. Both positive as well as normative economics. Welfare economics is both positive as well as normative economics. As a positive economic, welfare economy explain why wealth is unequal distributed, and as a normative economics, welfare economics explain whether unequal distribution of wealth is desirable or not. And welfare economics study about both welfare, individual as well as social welfare. Now we are going to talk about first fundamental theorem of welfare. According to first fundamental theorem of welfare, perfect competition economy will always satisfy Pareto optimality. According to first fundamental theorem of welfare, perfect competition economy will always satisfy Pareto optimality. Or we can say that according to this theorem, general equilibrium under perfect competition market will always satisfy Pareto optimality. As we know, according to Pareto optimality, we cannot increase the benefit of one person without making loss of any other person. And this condition will always satisfy under perfect competition economy according to this theorem. And the second most important thing, this theorem ensure Pareto optimality but not ensure social justice. Means according to this theorem, economy is performing at optimum level, at efficient level, but this theorem don't talk about there is fairness or not, there is equity or not, there is social justice or not. Because this theorem assume perfect competition, that's why this theorem also assume there is no externality. As we know, externality means sometime our production and consumption decision affect people which are not directly related to these processes. For example, because of your production, society is bearing so much environment pollution. This will be called negative externality. But this theorem assumes there is no externalities because this theorem work under perfect competition economy. Now we are going to talk about second fundamental theorem of welfare. As we know, first fundamental theorem only talk about Pareto optimality, only talk about Pareto efficiency, but don't talk about fairness, social justice, equity, equal distribution of income, etc. But second fundamental theorem talk about both Pareto efficiency as well as social justice, equity, equal distribution of income, fairness, etc. According to this theorem, Pareto optimality can be achieved with the redistribution of initial wealth. Means according to this theorem, we can achieve Pareto optimality if there is equal distribution of income and wealth. But how we can do equal distribution of income and wealth? We can do equal distribution of income and wealth by transfer money from rich to poor. For example, government impose taxes on rich people and use this money for welfare of poor people. Main tool of a second fundamental theorem are utility possibility curve and social welfare function. Means with the help of these two concepts, second welfare theorem mainly explain how we can achieve both Pareto efficiency as well as social justice. And utility possibility curve mainly shows the utility level of different consumer and also explain how we can transfer utility of one individual to other individual. And we can achieve maximum social welfare at the point where social indifference curve is tangent to utility possibility curve. Now we are going to talk about Bergson and Samuelson social welfare function. This is new approach to welfare economics. First of all, this function was given by Bergson in 1938. Further, it was developed by Paul Samuelson in 1947. That's why it is called Bergson and Samuelson social welfare function. Now we will see assumptions. Based on ordinal utility, means according to this function we measure utility by giving ranks. And second assumption is this function agree. Interpersonal comparison of utilities involves value judgment. According to this function, interpersonal comparison of utility involves value judgment. Value judgment means fully assessment of what is wrong and what is right. And according to this function, when we compare utility of one person with other person, it involves proper value judgment. And third assumption is according to this function, social welfare mainly depend on individual wealth and income. We can write this function as W is function of U1, U2, U3 till UN. Here N is total number of individuals in society. U1, U2, U3 is ordinal preferences of all individuals in society, or we can say the ordinal utility of all individuals in society. As we know, people can tell their ordinal preferences by giving ranks. For example, most of people prefer development of education system than moles. And here W is social welfare. And according to this equation, social welfare depend on ordinal preferences of all individuals in society. This function mainly describes maximum social welfare with the help of social indifference curve and grand utility possibility frontier. So first of all, we will see what is a social indifference curve and what is grand utility possibility frontier. In this diagram, on x-axis we have utility of A and y-axis we have utility of B. W1, W2, W3 and W4 are social indifference curve which mainly tell us level of social welfare. Higher the indifference curve, that means social welfare is improving. Means if we move from lower indifference curve W1 to higher indifference curve W2, our social welfare will improve. Similar, if we move from lower indifference curve W2 to higher indifference curve W3, that means our social welfare will improve. Or we can say that if we move from R point to S point, that means our social welfare will improve. Similar, if we move from S to T, our social welfare will improve. But if we move from R to Q, our social welfare remains same, because all point on same indifference curve will give a same level of social welfare. But if we move from R to Q, utility of B will increase but utility of A will reduce. You can see at this R point, utility of A is OA and utility of B is OB. But as we move from R to Q, utility of A will reduce from OA to OA1, but utility of B will increase from OB to OB1. But level of social welfare will remain same, because all point on same indifference curve will give us same level of social welfare. And this is our grand utility possibility frontier. And in this curve include so many utility possibility curve, or we can say that in this curve include utility of multiple individuals in society. Now we will see maximum social welfare point. In this diagram, this G is grand utility possibility frontier, and W1, W2 and W3 are social indifference curve. Maximum social welfare point means where social indifference curve is tangent to grand utility possibility frontier. At this Q point, you can see social indifference curve is tangent to grand utility possibility frontier. That's why Q point will be called maximum social welfare point. We cannot get maximum social welfare at this R and S point, because R and S point are on lower indifference curve, and lower indifference curve give us less social welfare. We cannot establish our maximum social welfare at this W3. No doubt W3 indifference curve give us higher social welfare, but this is crossing our grand utility possibility frontier. But at this point, our social indifference curve is tangent to grand utility possibility frontier. That's why this Q point will be called maximum social welfare point. Now we are going to talk about criticisms, abstract and theoretical tools. This concept only exists in ideas and theories, but not in practical. Limited applicability. We cannot apply this concept everywhere because there are so many individuals. It is not possible to know utility of every individual. Not realistic. It is not realistic to make a social indifference curve. Arrow impossibility theorem. According to Arrow, there is so much differences in the opinions of individuals. That's why we cannot reach at certain decision. If we cannot reach at certain decision, then how we can decide level of maximum social welfare? Cannot achieve equity and efficiency simultaneously. This concept say we can achieve equity and efficiency simultaneously, but it is not possible to achieve equity and efficiency simultaneously. So this is all about welfare economics. I think you got it, and thank you so much for watching this video. Bye. Take care.